Hey, welcome back.
We're back.
Check out this island.
It's pretty cool.
It's got some red beans on. On Rokkenjima, this day, or rather this round, was the same as any other. The typhoon would be coming very soon. The sky was still overcast, but the clouds were moving quickly. Hello.
Howdy, y'all.
Yes. The only thing on Natsuhi's mind was the plan to cover up Kinzo's absence again this year. Nah! Kraus appeared to have suffered a stomachache from the stress and was sleeping in his room. Oh, hello. I am apparently still in this game. Jessica and Kumasawa had left in a boat to go shopping and greet the incoming relatives on Nijima.
Jessica went?
Yeah, we knew that. We've known that. She greeted them on the pier, remember?
I literally had never processed
and then
that.
Battler made a big uncomfortable joke about her breasts.
I literally had never processed that happened on the pier and not on the island.
Yeah, and also Kumasawa came back with them.
Kumasawa, I remembered.
Yeah.
But this entire time, I had been operating under the assumption that the only person who went out off of Rokkenjima to Nijima was Kumasawa, which is not correct. I somehow totally missed that it was Jessica.
Oh. Well, yeah, where else would we get the breast sommelier stuff?
Yeah, I thought that all happened on the island.
Huh. Well, there you go.
That changes some of our reasoning about things in the past, too, because we did a whole bunch of reasoning based on the idea that only Kumasawa could have placed letters somewhere because she was the only one who'd left the island.
Well, it wasn't that only Kumasawa could have done it. It was that Kumasawa and Jessica had gone off the island, and only Kumasawa we had reason to suspect at the time.
In my case, it was that only Kumasawa had. I totally thought it was only Kumasawa. So.
Oh, I apologize then. We didn't have reason to suspect Jessica might have been involved in that at the time. I apologize.
We still don't, but
yeah, I mean,
it's still interesting that it blows up some things.
Yeah. The servants had been busy since the early morning preparing for the family conference, the greatest event of the year. Shannon and Kanon were rushing to get the guest house ready.
Oh, hello.
Wait, hold on.
If the relatives are going to stay the night, shouldn't the guest rooms in the mansion be more than enough?
Good point. It's a pain to clean up this place too, after all. Even so, I like cleaning the guest house.
Yes, it is nice and quiet without Madam and all the annoying servants.
Someone say my name? Shannon smiled wryly as she performed a detailed examination of the guest room. Did we forget to clean anything? Do we need to restock anything? She diligently gave the room one final check over.
You checked everything thoroughly last night too, didn't you? You really are dedicated.
It's days like this that you tend to get pranked if you're careless. You can never find important things when you need them, and things that were supposed to be closed turn out to be open.
That's because you're far too careless. You don't pay attention while you work.
I guess that's why you're helping me check. Thanks.
There's nothing to thank me for. If you were a bit more alert, I wouldn't have had to help at all.
But you actually just want to be with me, right? You're such a kid.
That's not it at all. It's all because you've been so ecstatic about George-sama lately. You're messing up so much, I can't let you out of my sight.
Kanon-kun, let's chat a bit.
Can't do that now. We're working.
You keep making fun of me and George-sama, but how's it going between you and Jessica-sama?
Nothing's going on in particular. You have the time to talk about that. Let's just finish this. Listen, if you have time to lean, you have time to clean. Wow.
Kanon had very obviously been trying to change the subject. Shannon had then snuck up behind him and pushed him down onto the bed.
So, why did you turn down Milady when she asked you to go with her to welcome the relatives?
Because I have work to do.
Liar. You don't actually have any work at all.
Shannon and Kanon had switched roles. Normally Kanon was the one in control, but when it came to romance, it was the opposite. As Shannon had said, Jessica and Kanon were supposed to have been the ones to go greet the relatives on the harbor in Nijima. However, Kanon had suddenly claimed that he had work to do, so Kumasawa had gone instead. Kanon didn't have any work to do. Shannon knew this. Because Kanon's got other stuff he has to be doing. Maybe, I don't know.
Milady told me, despite what happened after the cultural festival, She really does like you, Kanon-kun.
What happened after the cultural festival?
The whole confrontation where
right.
Kanon's like, but I'm just furniture.
Right.
I'm not allowed to have feelings.
But even though I'm furniture,
That's right. And I'm furniture too.
despite that, you're in love with a human. Even though you can't do that.
You think so? Maybe we're furniture just because we take that for granted.
I don't have any special feelings for Milady Jessica. I only think of her as the daughter of the family we serve.
Really?
Really? What is it?
You know, there is a chance that George-sama will propose to me tonight.
Audible gasp of disbelief.
Shannon wore an incredibly peaceful smile on her face, but Kanon could tell that there was no way she'd let him change the subject. Kanon realized that she must have made him help out here in the guest house in order to talk to him about this, and he clicked his tongue softly.
Licking one's own tongue. Let me try real quick. I got it.
Yeah, it's not fun. I don't.
It was not that hard. It sounds difficult, but
But it's really not.
you can get there.
You really think you can marry a human even though you're furniture?
I think I can.
It won't work.
Why not?
That dream future George Summer has imagined for you two is something that you could never give him.
Well,
We aren't humans. We're furniture, inferior to them. George Summer only thinks that you're human. Like Detroit.
well, that is true, but
I'm impressed that you've managed to keep him fooled for this long. But do you really think that you can keep tricking him like this forever? Even though you still haven't been able to tell him that you're furniture?
being furniture, being human, has nothing to do with this. I believe that George-sama will accept everything about me.
And yet you don't have the courage to check and make sure.
You know what? I think I'll accept his proposal.
As Shannon looked up at the ceiling and she spoke of the imagined future she and George would create. Though some anxiety over the future appeared on her face, and so did the joy of knowing what it was like to live with love. As Kanon watched this vivid dream he was being shown, he knew that none of his words would reach Shannon anymore.
You can just do whatever you want. Once you've said you'll do something, you can be incredibly stubborn.
Yep. I want to live life my own way. I'd like to stop being afraid over who's furniture and who's a human.
Kanon walked over to the window silently. He saw the rose garden filled with boring gray flowers in bloom. He realized that Shannon was acting above her place. So for Kanon, the rose garden is gray. He realized that Shannon was acting above her place, and he knew that her tale had no chance of a happy ending. However, he also knew that no words of his could change her mind now that she had made her decision.
In that case, it doesn't matter what I say, does it? If I tell you to stop, you won't listen. If I tell you to do what you want, you'll just do what you want. Why are you even talking to me about this? It's not like you care what I have to say.
What I want to know is how you feel about Milady.
I have nothing to do with the two of you.
Do you really feel absolutely nothing for Milady?
No, I don't, as I keep telling you.
Liar.
What makes you think that's a lie?
I can tell. I'm your Nei-san, aren't I?
You don't know. You can't know what I'm feeling.
I do. I know everything about you, Kanon-kun.
If you really do know, then why did you ask? Your head and your heart are completely filled by George-sama, aren't they? And it's that sincerity of yours that I love. That's why I'm rooting for you in the only way that I can. Otherwise, even I wanted to love Milady.
Even I.
Even I comes back, but it's not an even I that would have made sense in the first even I.
No,
context.
it isn't.
That's
It
interesting. That's really interesting.
Kanon finally turned to face her, honestly and openly, telling her how he really felt. That was what Shannon had wanted to hear. And after hearing that, she pressed Kanon even further to reveal his true feelings.
You can't leave it at that. I won't let you.
Then what should I do? What do you want me to say?
Don't try to dodge by saying I wanted to love her. All you need to do is honestly tell me what you really feel.
Milady is too dazzling for me. The way she lives is dazzling like the sun. That's why I love her. I was so happy when Milady stretched out her hand and asked me to walk with her. No, I'm still happy.
You love her, don't you?
Yes, I do. I love Milady.
Finally, Kanon confessed his feelings in their entirety. In fact, by saying it aloud, he finally understood how he truly felt. Passionate tears welled up in his eyes. Kanon finally accepted it. He couldn't stop the tears from dripping down his face. I think this might be Shannon.
I don't think so.
Oh.
Both of us are exactly the same, locked up on Rokkenjima and living without any hope at all. And yet Milady was able to light her own path and create her own fate. She was so dazzling that I envied her. I felt as though if I could be with her, I could find my true self instead of being the pitiful person I am now.
When you turned down Milady's confession, were you sad?
I was. I never realized that a lie you make to yourself could be so sad, so painful, so excruciating. And if I couldn't forgive myself for hurting Milady with that lie, I believe that I didn't have what it takes to ever fall in love again.
But that wasn't true. Do you know what's needed to fall in love? It's something you can't get from anyone but yourself. Being furniture or not has nothing to do with it. If you decide for yourself that it won't work out, then it won't. You mustn't leap to such rigid conclusions. That's why I, overambitious furniture that I am, gave myself what's needed to fall in love. So you have it too, Kanon-kun.
You mean I have what it takes to fall in love? I have the right stuff?
Yes. If you won't give it to yourself, I'll give it to you.
Thank you. I feel as though I could finally see the sea.
I'm certain of it. George-sama will propose to me tonight. When he does, I will accept. I intend to leave this island and start a new life in our new world.
If that's the path you've chosen, then I have no say in the matter.
I'll leave this island, and after that, I'll never return again. I'll have to say farewell to you, Kanon-kun.
You're right. We won't see each other again, will we?
If you do love Milady from the bottom of your heart, and if your feelings are at least as strong as my feelings for George-san, then you and I will have to settle whose feelings are really stronger.
Ne-san?
This way is best for both of us. Don't give up on your feelings for my sake.
Even though my selfishness might keep you from your happiness?
What the fuck? Are they the same person? Did I fucking call it?
I don't get how that... What?
I have to settle whose feelings are stronger. One of them getting away means the other doesn't.
I don't know if that necessarily means that they're the same person, but yeah, I see where you're going from here. How? Okay. Yeah, okay, keep going. Keep going. Yep.
I realize that same thing about myself. I know that my happiness will bring you pain.
We have no choice but to hurt each other. As she said this, Shannon turned her back to Kanon. Kanon watched Shannon from behind. He was struck by her strength and the love she still felt for him despite everything.
Ne-san, living with you has made me happy.
Me too. I wouldn't have lasted this long without you. And that's why I was able to meet George-san.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have realized how dazzling Milady is if it weren't for you.
I won't abandon the way I feel. I'll focus on that feeling alone, ignoring everything else. And I won't look away when I trample over your heart.
Me too. I won't use you as an excuse to hide the way I really feel.
Whether my love bears fruit or yours does, we'll both support the victor.
Yes, I promise. And if I win, I will love Milady and treasure you.
Thank you. But if I win, I'll forget you in this island and leave this place forever.
Yes. Whichever of us wins, that person will pursue their love with all that they have got, if they know that love will be unrequited.
Yes. After all, by now,
We are not furniture.
Are not furniture.
Yeah, I don't.
know how else to...
Okay.
I think.
I've got questions.
Yeah, me too. Because I think. Because what you're saying, we just got an achievement that says welcome them to Rokkenjima. Kanon had no chores today.
It makes sense if Kanon has no chores ever, because
Yeah,
Kanon
but
doesn't exist.
Trying to reconcile that. So then how would we? Then how would they have been able to present some of those scenes to us?
Yeah.
I'm not against the idea that it might be the case. I'm just trying to reconcile because we know how the game can display this kind of stuff to us.
Yeah.
But so then some of those scenes, like, makes
It only
hard.
makes sense if everyone who was there was like, yeah, there's two people here and one of them's called Kanon, which would be fucking weird.
Yeah, some of there are some parts that are difficult to reconcile, but it's definitely a possibility. Also, so like just sidebar to all that, it feels really, really kind of shitty that they've lived basically their entire lives on this island. So the only objects of their affection are the people that are the children of the people that employ them.
Yep.
That's kind of turbo fucked. The boat carrying the relatives docked at the harbor. They left the boat one by one, making fun of Battler. Goda wasn't the only one to greet them. Kanon was there as well.
Oh, it's been quite some time, everyone. Allow me to welcome you to Rokkenjima.
I hope that your long journey went smoothly. Welcome to Rokkenjima.
Ah, good.
Goda complimented Kanon in a whisper. Kanon ignored this, looking just a little bit sour, and continued to greet the incoming relatives.
This is your first time meeting Goda-san and Kanon-kun, isn't it, Battler-kun?
So the other way that might have made sense between them is that if one of them has to stay on the island, that means one of them has to become Beatrice and enact whatever is about to happen. That's another way we could read that.
That's interesting. So there's something about one of them achieving their love that requires the other one to become Beatrice and do the thing. Huh. That's odd, seeing as usually it seems that, in fact, every time it seems that whoever's left does not get the girl or guy.
Yep, right? Yeah, absolutely. This is your first time meeting
Yeah, I read the line.
It's my first time meeting Battler too.
Yeah! She's back.
Woo! Everyone loves me. Woo, 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 woo.
Woo!
Goda sounds a great chef. The only reason anyone would ever want to come to this godforsaken island.
I'm most honored. Battler-sama, I do hope that you look forward to your meals during your stay.
I can't wait. I'm counting on you.
Long time no see, Kanon-kun. You seem to be in high spirits today. That's great.
You really think so? Oh yes, your face is looking brighter today. Maybe it's your complexion, or maybe it's that your gaze looks a bit more gallant.
Must be a growing phase. That's how a boy becomes a man right there.
You usually look as though you're about to pass out from anemia. You're a bit different today.
You got some spunk. A boy can change a lot in just 3 days. I guess this means even Kanon-kun's getting a little bit more manly. We aren't making fun of you, okay? We're all complimenting you.
Kanon had sworn to start changing the way he lived bit by bit. However, he had only meant to change within himself and hadn't expected that it would show on the outside. He was a bit shocked to hear that his expression had changed so much, that people had apparently noticed as soon as he opened his mouth. No, maybe the real surprise was that his normal expression must have looked so incredibly sullen in comparison. Goda led the way up to the guest house. Kanon brought up the rear, helping to carry some of Kumasawa's shopping.
Does my face really look that bright today?
Looks that way to me as well. Did something good happen? Woo! Even Kumasawa was saying it. Kanon, unable to see what his own face looked like, hung his head in embarrassment. When they reached the rose garden, they could see the others streaming into the guest house. Then he saw Jessica running towards him from there. Is even my lady Jessica going to say that I'm in a good mood today? Kanon hugged his head even deeper. And so, almost as though he couldn't control himself, Kanon spoke first.
Do I really look that different today?
Huh? Well, you aren't usually the type to come out and say hello of your own accord. That's probably why everyone was surprised.
I apologize for not going with you earlier, milady.
Huh? Oh, don't worry about that. I'm the one who's sorry for asking you to come all the way out to Nijima with me to meet everyone. I know how busy you must be today.
I didn't have anything in particular to do. You were just so dazzling. So dazzling that I couldn't bear to be with you. I was just weak.
Jessica faltered, uncertain what Kanon was talking about. However, she realized that this was something too important to be laughed off.
Did something happen, Kanon-kun?
Shannon says she's going to get married.
Woo! Smug Jessica face.
I see.
Sorry, smug Jessica. I read that mentally as kind of like the ooh,
Yeah.
the cat face.
Yeah.
Of the,
So George Nissan is going to propose this time after all.
Jessica thought Kanon was sad because Shannon would be leaving, that this new mental state had caused the change in his behavior. And Kanon realized that Jessica was probably thinking this, so he spoke to her clearly and honestly, because he wanted her to know.
I decided that I would stop working here if Nae-san ever quit.
I know.
So that's what it is.
Okay.
Okay.
So are you going to quit too, Kanon-kun?
I am not sure anymore. I feel that if I quit, I might lose sight again of something you revealed to me, shining like the sun.
Jessica could only stare blankly, unable to understand what he was saying. However, she did realize that he was trying to tell her something important, and so she was able to accept that his next words were neither a joke nor a lie.
Lady Jessica, I love you.
I love you too.
You live your life like the sun, and I want to try walking that path alongside you. The feeling that with you I'll be able to break free from the me that I've despised as furniture.
You aren't furniture, Kanon-kun. And you weren't born just so you could become a servant.
Sure about that? You sure that's fact?
A boy your age should be enjoying life much, much more. I'm dazzled too. You're so dazzling I can hardly see.
This is how I truly feel. I'm sorry for trying to hide it for so long. I apologize for hurting you on that day in my cowardice.
That's okay. Just hearing you say that makes me happy.
So, since I always want to be with you, I plan to stop being furniture. I ask that you give me some time to do that. Please forgive this last bit of weakness.
There's nothing weak about you. You've shown me that you have the incredible courage to change yourself from the way you used to be. So I'll support you until the end, and I won't rush you until you're ready. If I'm the sun lighting your path, that's because I wanted to shine more brightly than anyone else so that you'd look only at me. Without you, there's no way I'd become anything like a sun. So I'll wait, no matter how long it takes.
Thank you, milady.
Milady is a bit stiff, don't you think?
May I call you by your name?
Sure. Yeah, go right ahead. Oh, but only when we're alone, okay? Otherwise, it might make things tough for you.
Good point. Nae-san and George-sama are doing the same, it seems.
If Shannon
When he smile! When he smile! Aww!
If Shannon hadn't been about to get engaged, you wouldn't have said what you said just now, right?
Kanon hung his head at a loss for words for some time, but it was true. If Shannon hadn't told him about the engagement, he probably wouldn't have been having this conversation at this moment.
Yes, because of that, I was able to think long and hard.
Come on. You heard about Shannon and you wanted to see what love felt like yourself, right?
Yes,
That's a pretty straight answer.
I'm a pretty straight kind of guy.
Well, when I watched those two, I was pretty jealous myself.
In truth, it wasn't quite like that for either of them. They'd been shown the courage needed to speak up and tell the one you love how you feel. That's what pushed both Kanon and Jessica forward.
So what should I call you then?
Jessica works fine.
Just saying it like that would be a bit embarrassing.
Then you can use San, at least at first. Why not try it out? Come on.
Jessica-san.
Good, that'll do for now. And I'd like to call you by your name, Kanon-kun. You have a real name besides Kanon, don't you? I bet it has the character, whatever character that is in it, like Kanon does.
It's probably something like Ka.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What could it be?
My name is Yoshia.
Oh, how is it written?
Yoshi. Yoshi.
That has never come up before now, has it?
Yeah.
No, we just... Okay, cool. Awesome. Jessica tried tracing out various characters on the palm of her hand. Then Kanon used his own finger to write out his name on her hand.
You write it like this. Yoshia.
So, you're Yoshia-kun.
Which means that Kanon is indeed not Kanon's servant name. Because that's not how they're given.
Wait, what?
Because Yoshi... That... Oh, it does. It does have that same character. Huh, it's just pronounced differently. Okay, never mind. Never mind, ignore me.
So you're Yoshia-kun. Yeah, that's a great name. Totally better than my weird name.
That's not true at all. Lady Jessica has a wonderful name.
Hey, say it again.
Okay. Milady Jessica has...
One more time.
Milady Jessica has a wonderful... is something wrong?
No big deal. Thanks, Yoshia-kun.
The red flowers of the rose garden seemed to celebrate the two lovers whose feelings had finally connected. The scene was watched by one not human, who gazed out quietly from beneath the rose garden arbor. Come to think of it, those two had never called each other by their names until now. Jessica hadn't known Kanon's true name. Kanon hadn't called Jessica by her name. When people call each other by name, they acknowledge the worth of the other's soul. Wait, if Battler... So Battler must have been able to figure out that name somehow. Right? Because he's the one making this game.
Interesting.
Using knowledge that he's pulled from the rest of... From what the other game boards have shown him, right?
But then there's also the other level on which this is a forgery by what's-her-name.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not actually the case, or maybe she found something IRL.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very puzzling.
That's why when people call each other by a name, they acknowledge the worth of the other's soul. That's why names are sacred. When you've been given permission to say someone's name, it means they've acknowledged your soul.
Is that why Father wants me to call him by his name?
No, that's probably wrong.
When Father sees me, it reminds him of that other me, the past me. And I'm sure that me called Father by name.
How you doing, little bitch boy?
However, that probably doesn't mean Father would be happy to hear me call him by his name. After all, I am me, and not the Beatrice Father knows well. What can I do to help Father? How can I be useful to him? After all, that's the only reason I was born.
Hanging her head, Beatrice sat all alone in the Gordon Lands arbor next to the rose garden. And she was watched by the Witch of Theater Going and her Miko as they sat across from each other.
Poor kid.
I never thought that you'd feel compassion for Beato.
It'd be too cruel to call this Beato and the former Beato the same person. They're completely different people. It may be that by the rules, this Beato is the Beato. However, saying that would be horribly unfair to her.
Battler must be very depressed to have things end up this way after reviving his former rival.
I sort of get Oni-chan's despair, but I can understand how this kid feels too. No person can become a replacement for another, not even a past version of that same person. Compared to the young boy and girl who had found new versions of themselves by calling each other by their true names, this witch looked very feeble. The witch knew that she was an illusion created in the image of the person she once was. And she also knew that it would only hurt Battler if she were to try and pretend to be that person.
And despite all of that, this Beato wants to be useful to Battler. How admirable.
Is that the purpose for the witch known as Beatrice?
That is what she claimed. She says that she was created to be of service to Battler.
So, a Beato who was born for Oni-chan's sake eventually commits a serial murder and drags Oni-chan into a bizarre game that she calls eternal torture? I don't get it.
I believe you also understand that one can become a different person over 1,000 years.
At the very least, Beatrice was once a pure creature who was born for Battler's sake. It's also very clear that in her current feeble state, she doesn't possess any of the courage or motivation needed to bring about such fearsome serial murders. That means the sinister witch we all know must have changed during the 1,000 years since her birth. We keep getting this 1,000 years business, but I get the feeling that those words are just a metaphor for a really long time in the world of witches.
As you get closer to the world of the gods, the concept of time becomes increasingly vague. 6 years can become 1,000, and 1,000 years can be nothing more than a quick nap. One can fit an eternity long enough to be deserving of the title 100-year-old witch in a mere 2 weeks.
In other words, the pure Beato transformed into the cruel Beato during 6 years that could be called 1,000. So does that mean something bad happened during those 6 years that made her hate Oni-chan? That doesn't make sense. During those 6 years, Oni-chan not only stayed away from Rokkenjima, he even stopped using the Ushiromiya name. He had nothing to do with that change. Her hatred has got to be totally misguided.
Are you so sure?
So this is where you were. Shall I make you some black tea?
Kumasawa-san, there's something I'd like to know.
Very well. What is it?
My name is Beatrice, isn't it?
Oh, yes, that's correct. You are Beatrice-sama, milady.
However, the Beatrice that Father talks about isn't me.
Well,
I think Father wanted me to be that person. I think that might be why he was disappointed, because no matter how much I looked like her, I am a different person.
oh, that isn't true. You are you, Beatrice-sama herself. You have merely lost your memory of the past after being newly reborn. Even without your memory, you are still Beatrice-sama. You are the same person whom the master loved.
So then, how can I regain those memories?
Well,
Beato looked at Kumasawa with hopeful eyes, as though praying that she would tell her the way. Kumasawa averted her gaze unhelpfully, as though trying to say that she'd like, though, if only such a way existed.
If I can't regain those memories, can't you at least tell me what kind of person the Beatrice Father loved was?
that much I can tell you, but
I was born for Father's sake. So I want to become the Golden Witch Beatrice that Father desires.
Beatrice-sama.
I cannot use magic. However, if the witch Father desires could use it, then I will learn. I want to become the witch he desires. That's the only way I can repay Father for creating me. That's admirable. Without the 1,000 years gone wrong, she really is an incredible kid.
A chick of a witch. Very interesting.
I've taken a liking to her, Angie. I shall allow this chick to make use of my library. Let us open the door that leads back to the world of witches.
So, you're going to make her read aloud the stories about her previous self? Yes, I want to know too. The creation story of the Golden Witch, Beatrice.
Very well. If you wish it, and let us open the door once more.
Kumasawa-san.
A golden splash welled up around them. It was a cloud of gold butterflies. With a flash of gold, the form of the old lady transformed into that of a witch in a dress.
You must choose the path that you are to walk down. Let us call it a path of roses. The beautifully blooming roses may encourage you, and their thorns may torment you. But even so, it is a path that you've walked down before. You may pass through the same 1,000 years. You may pass through a different 1,000 years. If you wish, you may even return back the way you came. I'll move on forward. I don't want to spend 1,000 years in this garden drinking tea. I, Beatrice, was born for Father's sake, so I want to live for Father's sake. Please tell me about the Golden Witch.
The Great Witch spread her arms, communicating the other's unbending determination to the brilliant heavens. At that moment, a brilliant light covered the two of them. And before they knew it, they were in a strange study. There sat the master of this library, the great old witch and her Miko. Oh wait, hold on, we're back here.
There sat the master of this library, the great old witch, and her Miko. Virgilia gave a deep and elegant bow. It is the greatest of honors to be in your presence, Lady Featherine Augustus Aurora, the majestic witch of theater-going, drama, and spectating.
Raise your head, child of man. I shall give that child the privilege of using my library, however she likes, for a time. Angie, my Miko, you will see to her needs.
Sure, as you wish, my master. You know, you could just say, let me read your story. Miko of the Witch of Theater-Going, I leave Beatrice in your care. Please, to meet ya?
Sorry to do it to you, kid.
The Beatrice you're trying to become was suffering from something in her own way. At the very least, you've been released from that for the time being. Will you really go on a journey to regain those shackles? Yes, I want to become the Golden Witch. That is the reason I was born. I, the endless and finite witch, Publius Virgilia Motto, ask that you make her journey through purgatory a pleasant one, granting her your protection. So did we just get Virgilia's whole name for the first time?
I feel like that's come up at least once before, because I feel like I remember the name Publius. If not, I could be completely mistaken, but...
Virgilia invented Magic the Gathering?
Yeah, right? Virgilia has power toughness equal to the number of cards in your hand. Damn! That actually gives me the idea of what you do for a Virgilia Magic the Gathering card.
Yeah?
She'd have to have the Morrow ability.
Let it be known as the Miko of the Witch of Theater Going and as the Endless Witch and Apprentice Witch of Resurrection. I, Angie Beatrice, do humbly accede to your request or whatever.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah.
Featherine snorted. So you also bear the name of Beatrice? That's right. I know a lot about you. Please teach me, what kind of person was I? Sure, and I'll want you to teach me. Why did you become the person you were?
In this library, the fragments showing the tales of all your games up until now are stored as books. By reading them, you should be able to learn everything that has happened before now.
By reading them, can I become a golden witch?
To become a golden witch, one must solve the epitaph of the gold. And this trial cannot be skipped, not even by Beatrice herself.
I'll do my best, so please let me read the books in this library. As admirable as ever, why are you so set on ending up like that again? I do not know what I was like then. However, if that me can be of use to Father, I want to become it. Angie sighed resignedly. No words would stop this girl's feelings of respect. Angie was the Miko of the Witch of Theater going. She could do nothing but watch over the stage. That's right. They weren't actually interfering with the play. This was just a bit of directing to shine the spotlight onto the tale of Beato's past. Even this was nothing more than the Witch of Theater going and watching a play.
If you read, you will learn what kind of a person the old Beatrice was. However, you must decide what you will take from that experience. You are free to stay in this library, or leave it, or even return to it again later. In exchange, I will watch your play.
You'll watch my play? Basically, it means you can do whatever you want. Thank you very much. I'll go, She likes it when you call her Featherine. Thank you very much, Featherine-sama. After being welcomed in by Featherine, Beato left on a journey to discover herself. That tale connected the old tale with the new one. It wove them together. The 1,000-year-old tale about her returned to its starting point, becoming a snake eating its own tail. The ring of that snake began slowly, bit by bit, to turn into the shape of a small island floating on the sea. And that was Rokkenjima. The 1,000 years of the witch born on this island were tied to the island. Was it 1,000 years or just 6? Or did this tale start even further back into the past? Beatrice went out on a journey to find herself.
Hands off the popcorn, by the way. That is for me only. The wind had been strengthening since a while back. The breaking waves had grown fierce. The ferry boats probably wouldn't be coming for a while now. The crashing thunder that told that the island had been sealed off from the outside world. A thick rain poured down, mocking the fools outdoors who had to rush pathetically to find shelter. No longer would anyone be able to leave this island, and no longer would anyone be able to reach this island. No one unless blessed with a miracle.
Sup, fuckers?
There was another flash of lightning. The retinas of all who saw it were filled with white. As that white faded away, an eerie shadow pulled itself up amidst the raging waters of the beach. As though suddenly remembering to do so, it coughed violently several times, filthily spitting out the seawater that had filled its stomach. She then tore apart the touch fastener of her life jacket and threw down the reason she had been able to float here without so much as a thank you.
Welcomed in by a storm, same as always. Very good. Yes, come and entertain me, battler son. That seawater sucks.
Hey everyone! Welcome to the middle of this episode. This is actually a separate recording session from the first half of this episode because we recorded a couple of chapters earlier in the week and now we're doing some later. We've had some time away from the game and some time to sit down and think, and given what the game has told us in these past couple chapters, I think both of us are finally ready to give up a grand theory of what is going on in Umineko. Because I think this provided the last couple of crucial bits of context to at least understand the outer shell of what this game is, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is going on at the highest level of fiction in this game. So let's break down what the game has told us so far.
Mm-hmm.
Vivian, feel free to jump in if I'm messing something up here, because I'm
Okay.
reading off a bunch of hastily written notes we made 3 days ago. So, what we learn is about the existence of forgeries,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think that's the key thing. The existence of forgeries, or people taking the original documents found in message bottles off of Rokkenjima and extrapolating and making their own versions of it to kind of feed this fandom of speculation that has surrounded the mysterious deaths of the Ushiromias.
In short, Umineko is about AO3.
It is about AO3. We'll get to OC's Do Not Steal in a moment, but and what we see is that what's her actual name? Toya.
Yeah.
She is a mystery author, and also on the side is one of the most noted forgers. So she is the one who is writing all of these forgeries that Angie has been reading. Now we get name drops for EPs 3, 4, and 5, right? I think.
And 6, the one that we're
And
currently
6, the one that
reading.
we're currently reading. Yeah. There is one EP that is left purposely ambiguous, and that is EP 2.
Yep.
Now, we know EP 1, which states explicitly it was attributed to Maria and was found in a message bottle, right? And we know also that there are 2 extant message bottle documents, which is why the forgeries are so common, is because people could be like, why not a third?
Mm-hmm.
And the game really wants you to believe that EP2 is one of those, is the second message bottle.
But it never fucking says it for sure.
And it never says it for sure. It throws the message bottle in you during EP2's opening credits, right? And it tries to be like another, but no.
Episode 8 is going to be the second message bottle.
That's bait. I don't know if EP8 is going to be the second message bottle, but I think the second message bottle has markedly different content, and we'll get to that. The game is also very wishy-washy about exactly how many forgeries Featherine has made at this point. I'm just going to use Featherine because it's a cooler name for her. So, it is our belief that EP2 is also one of the forgeries for that reason. So you might be asking yourself, okay, wait, so what is actually going on then? And on the short of it, it's a mystery author who has who has come into this community of people surrounding the mysterious death of pretty much most of a family under mysterious circumstances over the course of 2 days in the 1980s, and has dedicated themselves to dissecting their lives and forming theories about what exactly might have happened. And one of the 2 documents that they have to go off of is the contents of EP1. Up until the credits.
Mm-hmm.
Up until the credits where it says this is what... So the stuff that comes after, for example, the tea parties, that's something entirely different. And then the contents of the EP2, EP3, EP4, EP5, EP6 game boards are all forgeries. Now this covers like a good 80% of the content of those chapters, right? And there's a couple of things that still need explanation.
Mm-hmm.
The tea parties.
Yep.
And the historical knowledge of the characters, and the scenes of Angie in the future. So let's go with these one by one. In order to understand the tea parties, I think it's important to understand one key thing that kind of gets forgotten about EP1. EP1 had no demons, no red truth, no purported magic happening. Well, I mean, like the characters in it kept claiming magic was happening, but nothing was ever shown on screen.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It was just humans doing things to each other in a way that is a little bit obfuscated. All of the demons, the red text, all these magical creatures that keep bounding and adding up on top of each other, they only show up in EP2 and forward. Or rather, they start showing up in the EP1 Tea Party and forward. While it's unclear whether or not the demonic and angelic characters are completely OCs from Featherine or are somehow based around the contents of the second document that we don't know about, it's clear. I think it's clear that all those scenes involving the tea parties, the metaverse characters talking about the game, are characters that she has created herself and is using to discuss the contents of the game boards.
Mm-hmm.
And we came up with something close to this idea earlier on. We were tossing around the idea that Battler and Beato almost seemed to be mouthpieces, right? For what we guessed at the time was Angie, weighing different possibilities of what could have happened on the island.
Yep.
So we were getting hints around that level of higher authorship, but we weren't able to peg down the exact person. I'm pretty sure they did name her in EP3 during Angie's tour. Well, we got Angie's history right, but I don't quote me on that. I don't remember. So like we could have figured it out, but and then there's two other very egregious things that we have to account for in this, right? We have to then account for the scenes of historical fact and the scenes of Angie in the future, or the future of the game. There are. And to answer these ones, I want to once again just kind of delve back into really quickly what the nature of magical scenes are, and under what circumstances are we allowed to be shown these magical scenes, right?
I have something about the tea parties.
Oh, go for it.
I feel like we kind of skipped over. What then are we reading for them?
What we seem to be reading is Featherine's versions of these characters that she's created. This kind of extended universe of these versions of these characters of the family that she's taken and made into her own.
Mm-hmm.
She has taken the base of this story and spun it out into something more wild, to the point where the characters that she has are I guess they still might on some level represent the people on the island, but are more her original characters at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Like it said at one point, like they still have to act kind of consistently with how those people would have acted.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very much like she's putting words and actions in their mouths.
Mm-hmm.
Right? She's developed her own versions of these characters, which I think is fucking hilarious considering that we've developed our own versions of the characters during our playthrough.
My question, though, being less about what she's trying to do and what actually is it, because it's not the same as the forgeries, right?
Right, where it's
because this is not part of a forgery of some other message bottle. This is like a tea party that's linking us from episode 1 to episode 2, and that's kind of interesting. We haven't heard anything about someone forging tea party flash fix or any of that.
Right,
though maybe
and I think the hint to that is in what we see of Featherine. We know that she is. Let me. Can I take a little bit of a roundabout way of describing? Can I come back to the tea parties after we talk about what's happening with Angie? Because that'll lead into then what I think the tea parties are.
Okay.
So what I think is happening with Angie, what we think is happening with Angie, right? We get a lot of scenes of Angie specifically after that seem to come specifically after the game board of EP3, where she is, following up on what happened to her family and whatnot.
Ava's
alive, and it ends with her having a magical shootout on Rokkenjima, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, as with a lot of magical scenes, we have no reason to suspect these things actually happened.
Mm-hmm.
And while Angie does a very good job of summarizing what it means to summon something, it also kind of misses one key idea there. We don't know if Angie is still alive. And given that EP6 here starts with Featherine bringing a version of Angie into her realm, a version of Angie who has memories of this magical shootout on Rokkenjima and dying there, it really seems like what Featherine is doing is summoning Angie.
Mm-hmm.
She's summoning Angie as her reader. And we'll get to why that is. And a lot of reason why that is because it seems like Angie might be the only person who could possibly understand what Featherine has accomplished in her eyes, but is now deceased. Either from jumping off a building or getting shot at on an island. What's clear is that Angie seems to have disappeared under mysterious circumstances, and there's no one around to contradict Featherine's version of events that she's created for herself. Because why would the Sumadera say anything if they had just successfully killed her, right? No one's gonna contradict Featherine's version of events, so she's free to show this series of events happening to Angie that seems way too embellished to actually have happened. And the first hint of that is the fact that Amakusa, when we do see him, is in Chapter 6 here, is kind of like very much a flattened 2D version of his original character.
But
and the fact that Angie can somehow have memories of her dying.
But wait, on this theory, isn't this Amakusa's original character also something that she came up
but
with?
here's the important thing about the scenes with Angie then. I think it is safe to, because the one important scene is that we see when Angie goes to the bookshop, right? We do get a moment where Toya, right, supposedly witnesses her. I think what we see in EP3 is somewhat true to how Angie's last days might have been recreated. I think it's perfectly reasonable to assume that it is now a matter of public knowledge, or like police could have investigated and found, oh, she went here, she left this building, she met with this person. But the exact details of what happened might not be known, which is why we can suddenly get larger than life things of her jumping off buildings, and making daring escapes. And having all these magical asides and stuff. Because there's no one to contradict those particular suppositions of events.
My point being, though, that there's no way she would know what Amakusa did and said during that time. So she would have written his character then. She would have just as she does now.
That's a fair point. But yeah, I think that's the most reasonable version of what we see for Angie's lines, which Angie's future, which means that Featherine is very willing to spin these elaborate fantasies out with these characters for her own amusement and nothing else. Angie's story isn't part of the forgery. That's just something that she's done for her own sake to help, because she, maybe communing with these characters she created in some way is helping her understand more of what happened. She seems really desperate for one of these characters to surprise and say something to her that she doesn't expect, right? Or as she puts in Battler's mouth at one point during the previous episode. Or is it this one? I forget where it is, but
it's this episode.
This episode.
Or wait.
Whatever. It happened.
Episode of the game or episode of our playthrough?
Yeah, episode of our playthrough is what I meant, but I don't know if that's the one that went up on Monday or this one.
I don't remember which one it's in either.
It's bad. So yeah, that's what I think the tea parties are her just having these elaborate digressions with her own versions of these characters, and giving these characters lives outside of these forgeries she's written, all in the hope that someday they might surprise her and save her from her boredom, right? Now, there is the question then of what is this second document, because Toya claims that she figured everything out just from the 2 message bottles, right? And that once people finally get around to understanding it themselves, they'll realize through the nature of her forgeries that she's understood this all along. We, the players of the game, have come to understand it through the first 5 game boards, right? Where she supposedly laid out enough. But we don't know what the contents of that second message bottle are. So we don't know exactly how that generates enough information from her. What we do know is that when she starts writing the forgeries, all these demonic characters start showing up, and none of the people who read her forgeries seem to think of that as strange. Hers are very much celebrated. We also get an interesting scene of Angie, remember, going around comparing the writing in Maria's grimoire against some documents. And remember, at the time, you pointed this out, we were very concerned as to how she got her hands on it.
Yeah.
And now it seems like she was comparing the writing against the forgeries, and she probably didn't actually have it at all because that probably didn't happen.
Yeah. And in fact, if the details in the diary are consistent with all these things like the 7 stakes of purgatory, those lively sisters, all of those sorts of things, like these are all feathering details. So it would have to either not have happened and no one found a diary, or it would have had to be forged.
I think the stakes specifically are not feathering details. Because aren't they in the credit roll for game 1? I think like their characterization, them as characters, is feathering, but I think the existence of the stakes is still something that is.
The existence of the stakes is in the physical item?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But
yeah, the stakes as having like the crotch frill stuff. Yeah, that's definitely feathering. Which, sidebar, what is feathering's taste in character design?
That said, we do get all that stuff about, don't we get that weird digression about the stakes being made in USA?
Yeah, so we do. I don't know what to...
Stakes are forged.
The thing is,
It's forgeries all the way down.
It's forgeries all the way down. So it seems like what she's doing is she's weaving these tales, but by interweaving specific details into her forgeries, she's showing that she knows the truth. She knows the truth of what happened on Rokkenjima. And she believes history will vindicate her as the rest of people kind of catch on and realize exactly what happened. And she believes they have enough information in front of them to do so. The last thing we have are like this scenes of completely just historical stuff. Of stuff about the family before they came on the island. Stuff that is supposedly true on every game board. As for that stuff, I think some of it could be just legitimately, feathering has this historical knowledge, and like the Rokkenjima, the Ushiromias are a rich family. They live a public life, right? There will be records of what they have done at certain points, and some of it might be stuff that she's extrapolated from stuff she's read in the two official documents, right? Obviously, stuff like magic still happens in them, but I think it's safe to say that those kind of fall under the same umbrella as the Angie stuff, where it's like there might be a kernel of reality to them, but it certainly is embellished with her versions of the characters.
It would have to be, given that like Virgilia shows up and so on.
Exactly. Now, one important detail is what exactly happened on Rokkenjima. We know Ava survived. I don't think there's any doubt about this.
And that's really interesting because... Because
remember, she's very excited about managing to work in the detail that Ava escaped into Kuwadorian at one point, right? She's very excited that she managed to get that in there. And you might be wondering then, why would people take the forgery seriously if they didn't show Ava surviving like she clearly actually did? Because she didn't survive in the original document. Right?
So, that also neatly wraps up one of our previous questions when we were reflecting on things, where we were concerned about how it seemed like, because of Angie's story, it would have to be the case that some timeline like the one of Chapter 3 was what really happened. Because otherwise Ava wouldn't be there and Angie wouldn't have gone there. And this neatly wraps that up because A, those things didn't happen and were forged, but also B, like, we just don't know what happened in the real world. We know that Ava's out there, or was in some respect, at least according to Toya, and that's all we got. Other than that, we just got a lot of forgeries and one message bottle.
Yeah. I think that neatly wraps up our theory of like what happens at least on the outer shell of Umineko.
Yep.
We've talked about what we expect to see in the game going forward, right? I think by the end of it we'll have enough information to at least get most of what actually happened on Rokkenjima and what led to the events on the island. What are these truths that Featherine is dancing around and trying to show people, right? I don't think we're ever going to get specific solutions to the murders because why would Featherine do that and give away the fun of the game, right? Right. But I think at least going forward we might, since Featherine is clearly now eager for someone to finally understand all this work she's done, I think she's going to continue to drop increasingly more and more hints towards towards the truth of events, or at least if not the truth of what happened on Rokkenjima, the truth of what led to this happening.
Now, here's the most important question.
Yes.
And that is, given that Featherine is the one writing the story about a guy trying to write stories about a thing and blah, 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 and all this meta stuff, does this mean that Featherine is Ryukishi's witch Sona? Or is there a whole nother meta level where Ryukishi is free to have his own witch Sona?
That's a great question. I think Featherine is about as high up as we go. I don't... Any level higher than what we see with her, and I think we'd start getting to like, oh, I'm the author of the video game Umineko no Nakokoro ni, right? Right. It would actually have to be Ryukishi at that level.
It can't be witches all the way up?
I mean, Ryukishi can be rich if he wants. I'm not gonna say no. Go for it. Go for it, my dude. If you want to be a witch, don't let anyone tell you can't. Although, to be honest, if you're a witch, you're probably actually going to wind up being a wizard on the creature type line. Or shaman. Or cleric. Warlock. Never a witch, though. Never a witch for some fucking reason. We were talking about what creature type Beatrice would be, and we came to the realization that all of the witches in Magic, none of them actually have witch as the creature type, which is kind of sad. Anyway. Thanks for listening to our big...
Mid-episode rant.
Our big mid-episode rant here. Sorry it's in a weird spot, but like I said, we recorded those previous three chapters, those previous sections in one sit-down, and then we've had some time to percolate over what we've learned since then. So we wanted to get this out in the first part we could. And how long has this gone on for? God, like 20 minutes. All right, let's do another chapter in this episode. Y'all have been patient sitting around listening to us talk for 20 minutes. You earned it. You can have another
Yay, I earned it.
Chapter as a treat. Anyway, yeah. It feels like this is definitely the part of the game where you're supposed to be able to figure this stuff out, right?
Yeah.
Like the game is finally giving you enough. I feel very confident about that, but I obviously some of the smaller details could be wrong, but I think on the wide scope of it, we are on the money. News of the drifter, Furuto Erika, quickly spread across Rokkenjima. Erika had been welcomed in politely, and it was decided that she would be greeted as a guest until the typhoon passed. Oh, also, one last sidebar. The particular version of the particular shape of the forgeries we laid out explains why Meta Battler is specifically Battler from EP1.
Oh, yep.
He is the only canonical version of the Battler character, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I thought you might want to know that. Erika had been welcomed in politely, and it was decided that she would be treated as a guest until the typhoon passed. In the dining hall, Goda's wonderful dinner had ended, and everyone was relaxing and enjoying some after-dinner coffee and cheese. God, remember eating cheese?
Yeah.
That was pretty great. Apparently, Battler was a bit relieved that Erika had come and turned into a good scapegoat. It drove away some of the attention he'd been getting piled on him for finally coming back after 6 years. In fact, she turned out to be very talkative. When the conversation turned to a sophisticated discussion of the mystery genre, even the adults were drawn in. She was apparently so well-versed that even Nanjo, who had a vast knowledge of the subject, was impressed. Nanjo's a big mystery author fan, huh?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Didn't we get that last chapter because she spent all that time chatting with Nanjo about mystery books?
Although I didn't know whether or not that meant to mean he was like politely interested, or if he had like a lot to say on the subject himself. You know
I see.
Like it's the kind of thing where like you can listen to someone talk about something that they clearly know a lot about for a while, right? But you don't necessarily have to know a lot about it yourself in order to be engaged in that. So that's a good confirmation. Good point. Strange family in a western mansion on an isolated island during a storm, huh? Now that we have a detective stopping by to take shelter from the rain, we've got all the major factors lined up.
Well, have no fear, Battler. No matter how difficult the crime, I will solve it. That's a detective's job, after all.
How reassuring. It almost sounds as though you want a bizarre crime to occur. Hope I don't have to play the part of the victim.
Dear, you mustn't say such things.
Well, the history of the human mystery genre is only about a century old. Its tricks and ideas are limited to a few recycled patterns, so there's nothing really left to show. No matter what kind of impossible crimes or close room murders might occur, it'll be nothing more than one of the same classes of tricks dressed up to look like something new. The only reason mysteries still make for popular books today is because self-proclaimed fans, those who work off piece-together knowledge and who have hardly read any of the classics, mistakenly think that a classic trick they didn't know about through lack of proper study is actually something new and surprising.
Fuck you, reader.
You got that, dipshits?
Everyone couldn't help but gape at this imposing claim. If an aged critic had said it, that would have been one thing. But to think that a young person like this could say it so boldly.
Mystery is a genre that ended half a century ago, at least as far as I'm concerned. However, thanks to countless ignorant fools, I get to play my part as a detective.
Well, by that argument, wouldn't it mean that romance was perfected back in Shakespeare's time, so everything after that isn't worth reading?
Exactly. So if you just read Romeo and Juliet, it's the same as having understood all of romance.
Wow, convenient. I just have to read one book from each genre and I'm good, as long as I pick the best one.
I love how, like, Erica's argument is clearly not right. Like, it's definitely not correct to say that there haven't been new there isn't anything worth reading in modern mystery, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's obviously not the case. But from her position, it totally is a sensible claim to make. Well, that's ridiculous. It's not like there's any need to read more books than everyone else just for its own sake. But on the other hand, you can't be so satisfied with just a few stories like that. Sticking to classics of the past and never reading anything new is a sign of excessive nostalgia, don't you think? Sounds to me like the excuse of an old person who can't be bothered to read more.
I see. I guess I'll need to read at least as much as you, or else I'd probably lose in an argument.
Oh, me? I don't read books. Fuck that. Battler chuckled, but Erica knew from the previous game that Battler was actually quite an avid reader, so his words felt like more of a challenge.
If you're so confident in your reasoning abilities, you must be really good at quizzes and puzzles, right? Oh, right, Maria. Didn't you bring a quiz book or something?
Maria should have the book of the wolf and sheep puzzles, right?
Yeah, brought it.
Realizing that Erica's arrogant statement had made the atmosphere a little more tense, George smoothly changed the subject. By now it was more than clear that she wasn't the cute guest she had appeared to be. Maria pulled a book out of her bag that had quizzes and puzzles written on it and started reading them to everyone. It looked like it might turn into a peaceful quiz party, but of course that isn't what happened. To credit to all her big talk, Erica managed an impressive ratio of correct and immediate answers. She took complete control, and her bragging began to escalate more and more. George slightly regretted the choice he'd made when changing the subject. George, you did it! It's your fault, man.
The only winning move is not to play. Just give her a pair of chopsticks and sit her down in the corner.
Give her a fidget spinner. Or like one of those cubes that have the different tactile things on each side. Here, go in the corner.
Like, what are you trying to... Oh, okay. Just, I can click it, but I can click it again? I want 5 of these. 106 matches. Don't even need to write a tournament chart for it.
The question, how many matches would you need for a tournament with 107 teams, was answered immediately by Erica. Really?
Yeah, is that true?
This is less of a puzzle than it is a test of knowledge. There's a formula which shows the number of matches is always the number of teams minus 1. Just look at the example showing 3 matches for 4 teams and 7 matches for 8 teams. It should be pretty easy to figure out the pattern.
Yeah, Erica, that's awesome.
Erica One-chan, right? Say it.
Erica One-chan, that's awesome.
Oh, wait, what? One-chan?
Probably just calling her something other than just her name with no honorific.
Okay. It's really impressive. So you don't call yourself a detective for nothing.
I couldn't very well act the part of detective if I wasn't capable of handling puzzles of this sort.
Incredible. I'm sure you'll be able to become a real detective in the future, since you can solve these checks cover a book. Children's
Riddle.
puzzles.
I was pretty sure I already am one, but, you know.
The cousins all thought about the answers to the questions, but Erica always answered first. Rosa thought it was a bit rude for Erica to say the answers out loud while people were still thinking instead of keeping them to herself, but since Erica was a guest, she decided against mentioning it. In truth, Erica was perfectly aware of this when she answered the questions instantly. Each time she would grin broadly as though saying, "You all still haven't solved such an easy problem."
A great detective like you shouldn't really need to take these too seriously, right?
Yeah, good point. Even though these are just childish questions, that's getting a bit too serious. I'll take more care, so let's have the next question, please.
All right, I won't lose this time. Mario, the next question.
You have 1 large piece of cheese. A single slice with a knife can split it into 2 parts. So what is the lowest number of slices you can make to cut it into 8 parts?
It's 3,
3,
right?
right?
I think it's 3, right? You do 1, you rotate the knife 90 degrees, and you get a second one, and then you rotate it over the other axis to cut it across the middle, and then that makes 8.
Mm.
Yeah, it's 2 to the 3rd. Well, I mean, past that point, you can't you don't run out of dimensions, but it's the same idea.
Yeah,
Does the knife have to cut a straight line?
Yeah, that is the.
They didn't say.
Yeah, so imagine like so the way a mathematician would phrase it is like you're intersecting this object with a plane, right? How many planes would you need to intersect it with to create 8 separate distinct regions?
I think if you hit the cheese with a plane, it would probably break into a lot more than 8 pieces.
Okay,
and you'd
so-
only need 1 plane.
So, all right. Read your line, George.
I bet I could cut cheese into 8 pieces in a single slice. Get me a block.
What?
I have really poor hand-eye coordination.
I can cut it into 8 pieces with 1 slice. Thonk! It just shatters.
Oh, I know this one, so I guess I'll stay quiet this time, Erica.
George, acting like the adult he was, set up a mood that would prevent people from answering right away, even if they knew the answer, and in fact sending a warning to Erica. Seeing that Erica understood and she averted her gaze, snorting devilishly.
To make 8 pieces, 4 slices would be enough, right?
That's dumb. It would hardly be a puzzle if that was the answer.
That's right. These are usually set up so that a smaller number than you'd expect is the answer. But still, how exactly would it be done?
Oh, I got it. You can only do this because it's cheese.
True. If you tried to do it with a birthday cake, that'd be a huge fight.
Yeah, there would be, because you'd get a bunch of people with cake slices that didn't have any frosting on, and they would not be happy.
That's right. You might be able to do this with cheese, but you never cut a cake like this.
Which is funny because almost always the mathematical version of this is with a cake.
Mathematicians' birthday parties must be unfortunate.
Huh? All of you know the answer? Damn it, am I the only one who doesn't?
Oh, I've got it. Yeah, you've got to think 3-dimensionally.
Wait, even Jessica? I don't get it. What should I do?
I know the answer. It's written right here.
You didn't know the answer until you looked, right? Get it, Paddler-kun?
I hate the phrase because it is cheese. I get it and I get what it's telling us, but still. The mathematician in me is like, no, you can still divide the cake that way. Who cares how happy they are? That's not the point of the problem. Huh? Even Dr. Donjo gets it. Could it be? Am I the only one who doesn't get it?
I'm sure even your brain could be as flexible as cheese if we cooked it a little bit, Battler-san.
It isn't something like use 0 slices with a knife and break it apart with your hands, right?
Of course not. It's impossible to cut this cheese with anything other than a knife. It's a really hard cheese.
I see.
Think of the cheese in 3 dimensions. If that's hard, it might help to draw a picture on a paper napkin.
So we have 1 large piece of cheese, right? And we use a knife to make 8 pieces. Can't the knife only cut it in a straight line?
I anticipated Battler's answers, all of them. Yes, that's right. The knife only cuts in straight lines. Oh, but here's a hint. You can only cut in a straight line, but you're free to cut it wherever you want.
Try thinking of a bunch of ways to stick it in.
I don't need to hear that from Dad.
Yeah, you should probably try to think out of the box a little bit. Show us what you got, Battle Raccoon. You have a large piece of cheese. How many times must you cut it with a knife to make 8 pieces? Could obviously
What's
do
your favorite episode of Umineko? Mine's the one where Battler is confused about cheese for 20 minutes.
Incidentally, you could use 4 cuts to make 9 slices.
Can I rearrange the cheese in between cuts?
No.
Why not? It's cut.
Okay, stop. Because that's not the question.
I don't think it was specified.
I could obviously do it in 4 cuts. Could it be done in even fewer cuts than that? Our hints so far point to it being possible specifically because it is cheese. If it was birthday cake, you wouldn't really be allowed to do this. I mean, the thing is you could. It's just people would get angry at you. Cheese. Something you can do because it's cheese? Oh! I got it. I was totally tricked. This isn't something you could think of if your mind's all stiff and rigid.
Seems like you finally hit on it. Hopefully it's actually the right answer.
It's impossible to cut the cheese with anything except the knife, right? The knife can only cut in a straight line, right? There aren't any other rules, right? Right?
Not really.
All right, then that's got to be it. Whew, that was a tough one, almost like a riddle.
You've just got to get beyond cutting straight down from the top all the time. You make 2 cuts from the top to get 4 pieces. If you keep it like that and cut across the side, splitting it into upper and lower halves, you get 4 times 2 equals 8 pieces. It's an answer you can't reach unless you think 3-dimensionally. In other words, the correct answer is 3.
Huh? Really? Thought the correct answer was 1.
What kind of magic did you use? There's no way in the world you could manage it with 1. This isn't a riddle, it's just a normal math problem.
Huh? Really? I thought of the 3 cut method right away, but I figured that was too easy, so I tried to twist it too far.
Baller's answer is smaller than the one in the book. Is Baller right?
Yes, he is. Battler-san is right. The correct answer is 1 slice.
Fucking called it. I told you I could do it in 1.
By rearranging the cheese as you're making the single cut. Battler was happy that someone had confirmed his answer. However, at some point, Erica's face had lost its cheeriness.
Think that a human other myself that would give the answer 1. That'd be you of all people.
Your answer was 1 too, Erica? Guess you were also thinking out of the box.
Troll, truly be foolish who simply knew you knew the shape it was after hearing that it was a piece of cheese.
So her thing is just like, oh, the cheese is just arranged in such a way that it's not a wheel of cheese, it's, oh, that's cute. That's, get out of here with that.
Got there. That's impossible. Onichan got it wrong, didn't he? How would you cut it into 8 pieces with less than 3 slices?
How foolish, child of man. It says to cut it into 8 pieces, but nowhere does it say that they have to be of equal size.
It's still impossible. Do you cut it with something other than a knife?
The rules say that only the knife can cut it, that the knife can only cut in a straight line. However, to turn it around, the rules do not say anything besides that. In fact, the shape of the cheese is never specified. I see. So it's kind of like, yeah, you've got, it's telling you about the red, right? You've got all these rules guarding you in, but don't let them mislead you. They don't say any more than exactly what they say, right? When you all heard a large piece of cheese, you thought of a flat cylinder like camembert or something. I was thinking about a sliced cheese, like the kind you might put on your toast for breakfast. Because, you know, full blocks of cheese you'd cut with a knife aren't something I could come across that often.
The shape of the cheese isn't specified in the rules. A mistake by the ones who made the book. I imagine that there's a picture of a flat cylinder of cheese there in Maria-san's book.
Yeah, there is. Right here.
Erica had guessed the book Maria held had an illustration of a piece of cheese, just as Erica had described it. Because the illustrations will lie to you. Or they won't lie to you, but they'll mislead you. They'll show a version they'll show the version of the puzzle they want you to see, even if what's in the illustration isn't exactly specified by the red.
This is why I despised geometry class in school, because they always had the little illustrations of the problem that never actually reflected what it looked like. And it's like, cool.
So mean.
So you basically just done it this way so you can trick anyone who doesn't read carefully instead of having them actually work through it. Thanks.
Yeah, exactly. And on a math test, that's obviously like egregious because that's not what you're supposed to be testing.
Yep.
Right. However, in a mystery game, with cheese of this shape, 3 slices really would be the correct answer. You cut it in a plus pattern from the top to make 4 pieces, then cut it from the side to double that and make 8 pieces. However, since this illustration hadn't been shown, the interpretation of the cheese had been left to the answerer.
That's right. The moment the problem was stated, no one said anything about how the cheese was shaped or how flexible it was.
Yeah, exactly. It seems to battle itself as the more flexible one when it comes to both brains and cheese.
I don't get it. How does making it sliced cheese let you cut it into 8 parts with a single knife slice?
Why not try it with that paper napkin? Pretend it's sliced cheese.
It's like this. You fold it accordion style, right? How many times do you need to fold it to make 8 sections?
6 times.
To fold it accordion style, you alternate between upward and downward folds. Once you've done this 6 times, it looks like the sides of an accordion.
With normal cheese, it'd break if you tried to fold it like this, but the rules say this cheese can't break unless you use a knife, right?
Yeah, no problems there. After all, this is magic cheese that can only be cut by a knife.
After folding it, if you start at the top and make a cut right down the middle.
Would be Jessica.
You're right. It would make 8 parts.
Wait a second. The parts aren't all equal this way, right?
All the questioner said was to cut it into 8 pieces. Didn't say anything about them being equal. They can change the way you fold it. It's possible to make them all equal sizes, but I wouldn't want to confuse you stiff-headed people with the explanation.
For a while, everyone was stunned. Battler had reached a far better answer than the 3 by thinking of the problem as a riddle. Erica had already known both answers and had even spotted a mistake by the book. The others could do nothing but stare at those 2 in surprise.
Incredible. So we were the stiff-headed ones?
We were thinking in 3 dimensions, but it looks like Battler-kun and Erica-chan were thinking in 1 dimension higher.
Seems the game with the witches toughened you up quite a lot. Puzzles without specified rules. In other words, things not covered by the red truth are left to the observer's interpretation. It's the most basic of methods for constructing gaps in the witches' closed rooms. You know, if you haven't figured that out yet, say be 6, dipshits.
What are you talking? Why are you calling everyone dipshits? We just met you.
You'll figure it out.
Is that a quote from some novel?
Well, let's call it that for now, shall we? More like a fancy fiction, if you will. Anyway, I guess this means that everyone's brains are as stiff as rock-hard cheese.
Without any signs of restraint, Erica looked at everyone and laughed sarcastically. Only Maria didn't notice the venom in that laugh as she happily turned to the next page.
Yeah, boo-boo. On the next problem. You have 3 cups and 6 coins. Split up the coins so that there's 1 coin in 1 cup, 2 coins in another cup, and 3 coins in the 3rd cup. Yeah, boo-boo.
What?
Cool. So you only really need like 3 coins to do this, which is kind of funny. Have you seen this one?
So the cups are stacked?
Yeah, exactly. So what you do is you take 1 cup, you put a coin in the bottom of it, right? You stack in the next cup, you put a coin in the bottom of that one. Stack the last cup and put the coin in the bottom of that one. Then the bottom cup has 3 coins in it.
Why do we have 6 then?
Because it wants you to think of it like, oh, 3 in here, 2 in here, 1 in here.
Okay.
It's the like, oh, you have to, you need to, it doesn't specify that you can't move the cups.
Mm-hmm.
Wait a sec, that's easy. Just stick 1 coin in the first cup, 2 in the next one, 3 in the last one, and you're done.
However,
Wait, would this be Maria?
I don't know.
Yeah, however, can you do the same thing with only 5 coins? Whip.
here's another cliched problem. Don't tell me that you only need to waste several precious seconds on a problem like this.
By now, Erica was gazing around with an unpleasant look, acting in a manner that was completely inappropriate both for a guest and someone of her age. She was no longer a guest who would be staying until the storm passed. She had transformed into an annoying guest who wouldn't leave until the storm passed. Everyone thought this, but they were unable to say it aloud.
Oh, right. Speaking of problems with coins, I've heard that picking up coins is a good way of judging someone's skill with chopsticks.
Chopsticks! Did someone say fucking chopsticks? Give me a pair of those right the fuck now, or I will throw them into your eyeballs. Chopsticks, that's right. Chopsticks are the most elegant utensil on the planet. Poking things and chopping them up with forks and knives, so barbaric. Chopsticks are the best. For me, using chopsticks is truly an art.
Jessica was about to say, aren't chopsticks just sticks? But stopped herself just in time. Good move, Jessica. She realized that it'd be best to let George take control for now.
I have a coin here, so would you like to challenge me? I'm pretty good with chopsticks.
George still insistently treating Erica like a child that needs to be managed is
Accurate?
yeah, that is some kind of that's a mood right there.
That's right. We trained George very well with those.
Indeed. Table manners are a window into one's upbringing, and Erica-san uses them quite well herself.
I'll lend you some coins too. It'd probably be more fun with more of them.
Jessica, watch closely and learn. Damn it. All right, let's go. Let's see who can move the most coins over to their plate.
Bring it on! Chopsticks! Chopsticks!
That face.
I love me some chopsticks for some fucking reason.
This time, George had steered the conversation into a good direction.
The chopsticks
Hey,
enjoyer
good.
has logged on.
Everyone else understood, and they helped to egg on this chopstick fight and change the subject. They were fully aware by now that Erica was extremely proud of her intelligence, and apparently she had the bad habit of using that to look down on other people. She spun her chopsticks around with the deft hand of a juggler, staring at the coins scattered on the table like a dog who had been told to stay after having a meal placed in front of it. See, if people think they're too smart, you can just easily distract them with some of these.
Yeah, just put some shiny money in front of them. It just works.
The unsettling sound of the wind had now blended in with the sound of rain, mimicking the howl of some monstrous beast. Just when it seemed to be crying out sadly, it would suddenly turn into a roar and rattle the window, striking up even more fear and unease within me. Light from the hallway poured in through the thin crack in the slightly open door. It seemed to carry with it laughter that was warm and happy, but very distant. I'm sure everyone's in the dining hall or somewhere having a good time. I want to go there as soon as I can. I'm sure my family will be there. Hate being all alone in a place like this. Dad? Mom? Stubbornly tried again and again to get that door open, but the merciless chain just wouldn't let it open any further than that crack. Have we ever gotten it and read that the only ways in and out of a room are the doors and windows? Right, and there are no hidden doors and whatnot.
Not necessarily, but I think will all hinge on what the definition of a hidden door is.
Well, what occurred to me was like, what about like a ventilation shaft? A way out of the room that's not hidden.
I caught gold venting.
But, so it's not like a door or a it's not a door or window. And it's not hidden because it's right there in full view, but it's also...
I think it'll depend on the specifics of what's given to us.
Yeah, because the game seems to be really making a big deal about, like, can you figure out this thing with the chain room before we reveal it to you here? On the contrary, feeling this close to a way or out just made me more impatient. Gulping and trying to ignore the fear lurking behind me, I quietly closed the door. The light coming out of the crack is just a trap. An iron shackle making it look like I'm an inch away from freedom, though that door will never actually open. A shackle trapping me in here for all eternity. I need to get out of this creepy room as soon as possible. When I closed the door, all that filled the room were the eerie sounds of wind and rain. The way the wind picked up every now and then and shook the window frame felt like a monster in a cage shaking the bars. So scared of that monster, I couldn't help but avert my gaze from the window. What a search. If I can't get out of the door, I need to find another way out. One other thing that... Well, I don't think that would actually work. I was going to say, like, one other thing that's common for a way out of a room that's not hidden, but isn't also commonly used, is like an attic entrance, right? Where you have like a stairway you can pull down from the ceiling.
Yep.
However, there's generally not like two of those to the same attic.
Yeah.
So you just be putting yourself in a different room, right? You wouldn't be actually... Just to the side of the door was a closet. There's only enough space inside to hang overcoats. Of course, it didn't connect anywhere outside the room. This were hide and seek, it'd probably be fun to hide in there. However, inside this creepy room, it'd be no better than stepping into my own coffin. If I go in there, maybe I'll find myself trapped in the closet next. Hey, Battler, how you doing, buddy? Doing all right, buddy? This fear I didn't understand sent a massive shiver up my spine, and I closed the closet door in a hurry. There's one door left. When I opened it, there was the bath and toilet. Of course, there was no exit. There weren't even any windows. If I turned the faucet, water would probably come out, then disappear down the drain and flow outside, but I couldn't get out that way. Unless I went into the bathtub with the stopper pulled out of the drain and smashed my flesh and bones into bits. The feeling that this was the only way out. So the black stopper in the bathtub drain looked extremely terrifying. I tried a lot of things, both mentally and physically, but there was really no chance of me getting out through the bathroom. Next is the window. Beyond the window is pitch black darkness. The fierce winds and rain are slamming against the glass. The darkness on the other side of the window may have been unsettling, but I didn't really care where I went as long as it got me out of this room. However, the window was clamped shut. Right down the middle of the window, which was made to swing open like a set of double doors, were several ugly metal clamps. It was even more unnerving than the chain on the door, like a rough operation scar on some bizarre monster. The wind and the rain slammed against the window frame, shaking it and making it creak loudly. However, unlike the door, this wouldn't open even in a crack. I've had enough. The rest already. What the hell is going on with this room? I've had enough of this creepy room. Enough! It is impossible to go outside except by the door and windows. And compared to that thick door, the window... Okay, so that is the rule. Okay. Compared by that thick door, the window looks like it might be possible to break. I'll smash it. If I swing a chair at it, the glass will probably break, right? Might even be able to smash the wooden grid that runs through these latticed windows. All I need to do is make a gap large enough to slip out of. I grabbed a fancy-looking antique chair and headed back to the window. Ah! Smash it. Over and over. The glass smashed with a violent sound, and the frame greened and croaked and greened. Croaked and greened is what I said.
I like
Groaned
that.
and creaked is the actual.
I liked that.
It was very Jabberwocky for a moment there. Smash it. Over and over. I could just break through the wooden grid. Damn it, what the hell? The glass had been smashed apart. Even though the cold rain that blew in tormented me, I just couldn't get that grid to break.
Battler's trying to go off the grid.
They weren't iron bars. It was just a slender wooden mesh. Even though it's fragile enough to make that creaking sound, why doesn't it break? Oh, wait, maybe it's almost broken. If I try attacking it from a different angle instead of just smashing it head on. I stuck my left hand outside through the hole in the broken lattice window, grabbed the frame from the front with my right hand, tried to break it by shaking it around from both sides. My left hand started to grow ice cold from the frigid winds and rain. When I shook it, fragments of glass sticking out from the broken frame poked into me. My wrist was soon stained with blood. But I could just get out of here. This much pain is no big deal. get out. I'm stuck. It won't open. Won't open? Won't open. I can't break it. The more violently I shook the frame, the more the glass fragments tore into my left wrist, causing me intense pain. Huh? Ow! Ow! Before I realized that the glass fragments on the frame had extended outwards, as though an ugly beast was trying to chew my hand off with glass teeth. It didn't just feel as though they were growing outwards. They actually were getting longer before my very eyes. They were chewing my hand to bits. I tried desperately to pull my hand out, but it had already dug deep into my wrist and I couldn't move it. I put all my strength into it, but it just hurt more and more, and the glass didn't even budge. What the hell? Oh, let go, let go! I hit the glass with my right fist over and over. That just hurt my right fist and did nothing to release my other hand. And just then, my left hand, which was still exposed to the rain outside, brushed against something slimy. What? Couldn't have been a leaf blown about by the winds or anything like that. And if it felt just like the touch of someone's rain-soaked hand. Then I closed tightly around my left hand. And I felt the 5 fingers. I knew that some person out in the darkness was touching my left hand. And yes, I know who it is. It's the witch. The terrifying witch who rules over Rokkenjima now. The 2 hands soaked in the freezing rain gently caressed my left hand. However, though I could tell what was happening by touch, I couldn't see anything out there in the darkness. And then, it felt about my fingers and twisted my ring finger upwards. Wow, it's gonna break it. Ah! At that moment, I saw something in the darkness for the first time. It was white. The darkness grinned and bared its white teeth. And then that mouth was filled with eerily white teeth, approached my finger that had been twisted up so far it was about to break, and opened wide. Ah! It must have been laughing at me from the darkness. After all, that creepy mouth was twisting upward in a huge grin. I had a horrible idea of what it might be trying to do to my finger. A shiver ran up my spine. I resisted as much as I could, but the fangs of glass just wouldn't release my left hand. And then, it gently bit my finger.
Nom.
Nom nom nom! Flesh and bone were crushed and torn apart in an instant.
Did you hear something just now?
I think I heard it too. It sounded like a clunk. It's probably just the wind hitting a window. This is a beat-up old mansion after all.
Yeah, it's pretty creepy. When I was a brat 6 years ago, I remember spending a lot of nights all scared the witch was really walking around the mansion.
Yeah, but take this. Beatrice, take this.
What's at the other end of this hallway?
There are guest rooms there, but they aren't being used now. Yeah, after all, we have the guest house now. Until then, we would always stay in these guest rooms.
Yeah, I remember too. When I saw the guest house today, I was surprised at how beautiful it was. You could make a hotel there or something. You know, if you were motivated to do that.
Well, that's because it was just built. I wish I could move my own room over there. Shannon, Erica-san's room is in the guest house too, right?
I wish I could move my own room over there because, you know, someone died in my room.
Yes, we have prepared a room for her in the guest house.
Yeah, it's just the guest house is a good distance away from the mansion. No matter what kind of trouble happens, you can't hear what's going on in one from the other.
You still in detective mode? Sounds like you'll be all bummed out when we all wake up tomorrow and manage to say good morning to each other.
Yeah, true. These one of us had better be gone by tomorrow morning. Right?
Allow me to guide you all to the guest house.
Shannon, you weren't planning on murdering anyone, were you?
What makes you say that?
Nothing.
The adults were apparently about to begin a conversation that they didn't want the kids to hear. The real family conference was about to start. As the kids and Erica followed Shannon on their way to the guest house, they passed through the entrance hall.
Looks like it's pouring down at its hardest right now.
Should we watch TV in the parlor until it dies down for a bit?
Even Mama said to go back to the guest house. We have to go or she'll get mad.
I think we'll be able to relax a lot more over there. Better than getting to see and hear our parents get all pissed at us.
Yeah. Looks like everything's falling into place.
Erica giggled, an openly indiscreet look on her face.
I'll go get some umbrellas for everyone.
You know, so we haven't seen yet? We haven't seen Kanon. We saw Goda very briefly in like one of the like a drive-by almost.
Yeah.
Like, hi! Oh. And we haven't seen Genji yet either.
Please wait here.
Oh, wait a second. It's been bugging me for a while. Who's the woman in that portrait?
Well, to be honest, I already know that it's Beato's portrait. Still, we only just walked past it in the last game, which is no fun. Erica whispered to herself, but of course no one heard.
I'll be honest, I already know that it's Beato's portrait, but still, we only just walked past it in the last game, and that's no fun.
Erica whispered to herself, but of course no one heard her. This is probably Shannon.
This is the master's benefactor, Beatrice Sama. They say she gave grandfather a vast quantity of gold. They say she gave grandfather a vast quantity of gold, meaning that she's to thank for the Ushiromiya family's revival. She's just a witch of grandfather's delusions. Supposedly, her ghost walks the corridors of the mansion every night.
Hey, quit it. This story always freaked me out when I was little. It always made this mansion feel terrifying after night fell.
Oh, right, that's true. What about now, 6 years later?
I'd totally forgotten, but looking at this portrait head on, I can feel that old fear coming back a bit.
Good, fear keeps you sharp.
Isn't scary?
Fear
As long
keeps you
as you
sharp,
respect
Battler.
Huh?
Fear keeps you sharp, Battler.
If you don't. Yeah. Right, Shannon?
Yeah, sure. That rumor does exist among the servants as well. Rumors.
When did she turn into Marina?
Rumors about servants patrolling at night, bumping into mysterious silhouettes or gold butterflies. Yeah, it was last year or the year before. Didn't one servant fall down some stairs and get so badly injured that they quit? Wasn't there a rumor that it was Beatrice's curse?
Jessica told it like a ghost story, trying to scare Erica, but Erica just laughed disdainfully.
Trying to what?
Scarica.
Yeah.
Thank you. I can't believe I missed that one. I appreciate it. Come on, that's creepy. It was probably just an accident, right? It's a coincidence?
It happened just after grandfather had this portrait hung here, so it was probably the year before last.
Probably cleaning out some of the servants that weren't in on the collusion in order to make sure that they...
Yep.
Or wait, is that the story that they gave... No, because that was earlier than that. Never mind.
In fact, if I remember, this here is the staircase that servant fell down, right?
Probably Jessica.
Yep, after all, this insanely huge portrait really stands out. Shortly after it was put up, everyone was talking about what it might be. And then when the accident happened shortly afterwards, people started calling it Beatrice's curse.
So these ghost stories about Beatrice started after the portrait was put on display?
No, rumors about Beatrice Sama's ghost walking about were around even before that. However, I do think those stories grew in number after the portrait was put there. Before then, even though they'd heard about the witch Beatrice, they didn't have an actual distinct picture in their heads of what she'd be like. I imagine that this portrait made that picture distinct for them, strengthening the rumors even more.
Which is interesting, because it means that anyone imagining summoning Beatrice, imagining her presence, before the portrait was put up, they're the people that informed the design that became Beatrice.
So, who started talking about this Beatrice witch in the first place?
Grandfather, he'd always start freaking out. Grandfather, he'd always start freaking out and yelling, "My beloved witch Beatrice!" Though until we saw that portrait, we had no idea what she looked like.
So surprised to get one or two ghost stories with a creepy portrait like this hanging around. I always find ghost stories cropping up around things like a portrait of Beethoven in the music room or the statue of the school founder. Nah.
True, it wouldn't be strange for a few ghost stories to arise in an old, gloomy mansion with the sound of wind and rain present in the background for so long. Well... Oh, is this Battler?
Well, it's nothing more than a ghost story, delusion, or fairy tale, worth less than the useless drivel of a half-sleepy nitwit. Nah.
It's probably Erica.
Okay.
Erica looked at the portrait and smiled at it hostilely. As though she felt this smile was disrespectful to Beato, Maria's face soured.
You will, Beatrice exists. If you say things like that, you'll definitely feel the curse of the witch.
Oh, how frightening. Please, curse me if you can, Beatrice.
So if we find you mysteriously dead next morning, we'll know it's the curtain raising on the witch's murder case. Got it. But you're a detective, right? Wouldn't killing the detective off in the beginning be a bit too radical?
Ah, that would be troubling. That would get in the way of the crime scene inspection. I see. After all, even the Knox rules prohibit the detective being killed. Oh, don't prohibit it. They don't.
Yeah, boo-boo, I have just what you need. It's a charm that'll protect you from Beatrice's curse.
Charm? You have a charm for something like that? After fishing around in her bag, Maria pulled out a string of beads attached to a medal that had a scorpion drawn on it. Looked like a cheap prize from an arcade or something.
What are these?
Yeah, boo-boo, they're magic repelling charms. Their effect is very weak, but if you use them, you'll definitely be able to avoid Beatrice's curse all night long.
I've heard that spider webs are also useful for repelling magic. For some reason.
Yeah, boo-boo-boo. That's probably because Beato is the incarnation of a butterfly.
Huh? Wasn't it the evil spirits of Akujikishima that were weak against that? Kumasawa-san knows a lot about that sort of thing.
Witches and evil spirits, huh? This is getting a bit interesting. Would you mind telling me about it in a bit more detail when we get to the guest house?
Here are umbrellas for everyone. It's still raining very hard outside, so please take care.
Shannon handed out the umbrellas she had brought. Everyone headed towards the exit. And then, when there were none left standing in front of the portrait, a gold butterfly appeared. It expanded out into a golden splash, becoming a human form. In the hall, empty now that the children had left, Beato stood alone and silent, looking up at her own portrait. Without a doubt, the figure depicted there was as like her as an image in a mirror. However, it felt as though its eyes and expression were just a little different from hers. From her perspective, while the person in this portrait was almost infinitely close to herself, it was just as surely a different person entirely.
Who are you? Please tell me what kind of person you are.
Beato had already finished reading the fragments from Featherine's library, which showed the tales of all the games so far. However, the rich called Beatrice who had been depicted in them had been so vastly different from her. At the very end, it had looked as though that witch and battler had connected just a little bit as rivals, but for the most part, Beatrice had just bullied battler in nearly all of the tales. Even though this was about her, she had no idea why Beatrice had tormented battler so much when she had supposedly been born for battler's sake. All she had learned from Featherine's library was that the former Beato was a completely different person who defied understanding.
What happened to you? I am an egg of you. A chick. Your wings should have existed for father's sake. Just when did you have one of those torn off and end up so drastically different?
She had listened to the conversation Battler and the others had just been having. Beatrice can't handle scorpion charms. Beatrice can't deal with spider webs. She wouldn't have wanted to touch either of those by choice, but it wasn't as though anything terrible would happen if she did. Was being perfectly fine when around those proof that she wasn't Beatrice? Even though this involved her own self, she didn't understand it at all. So she quietly gazed into her own eyes on the portrait. It felt as though the truth hid behind one of those eyes. Beato slowly approached the portrait, and then she lightly touched it. When she did, it felt as though the portrait rippled slightly. Let's go! Do-do-do-do. And then Super Mario 64 music starts playing. Oh, we're at Baba Battlefield.
Try to catch Cooper the Quick!
Yes, this is a doorway. A doorway to the long path that will lead her to the Golden Witch, Beatrice. Beato felt a bit dizzy. She lost her balance, feeling as though the world was twisting around her. Then when she couldn't tell which way was up or down, she was swallowed downwards. With the soft watery sound, Beato was sucked into the portrait. The world inside the portrait was pitch black. However, there was nothing unsettling about it. It was a comfortable darkness, like when you put your head under the covers in a bed at night. Beato realized this was a world inside herself. So despite the darkness, she felt a warm embrace. As long as she asked for nothing, this world would ask nothing of her. But she couldn't remain like this. She didn't want to spend eternity inside the darkness of this world. So I need to hatch out of my egg. This darkness is the shell that's surrounding the gold butterfly called Beatrice. Time to crack the world's shell.
I will be born for Father's sake. I will be born to live for Father's sake and to serve him.
She took her goal, her reason for being born, and put it in words. As if in response to those words, the seal on the shell began to melt away. Cracks appeared in the darkness, and a brilliant light enveloped the world. And so Beatrice was born.
Huh? Huh?
2 Beatos, maybe more.
Huh.
Well, we already had a theory about what the different Beatos represented, but that's good for now.
I have a feeling our theory isn't quite right given the whole forgery thing.
I still think our theory might be correct. Because remember, she's still trying to... Remember, the games are solvable, and she's still trying to communicate that she understands by showing particular things.
Mm-hmm.
I still think what we can reason about the characters from their actions in the game boards is still valid.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, this is clearly Beato speaking.
There I stood, along with another me. For a second, I thought that the me in front of me was the real Beatrice, the one I wanted to be more like. However, she was looking back at me with the same bewildered eyes, so I realized that wasn't quite it. That's right. I wasn't the only one born from that egg. She was also born. Is she my twin? No, it feels a bit different. How can I put it? Both of us are lacking something and immature. Yes, both of us are chicks, but we are also fragments of the true Beatrice. It felt as though we could become the real Beatrice together. No one explained this to us. However, we naturally understood. I decided to talk to this other me. Unless I get to know her and become one with her, I won't be able to become the Beatrice Father desires. In other words, the thing that Father wants from me, and was so heartbroken to find missing, must be something that she has. Hello?
Mood.
The Beatrice with her hair down looked at me dubiously several times, then finally spoke. Why is your face the same as my own? The true Beatrice also spoke in that manner. It looks like she really does have something that I lack. Well, I don't know why either. I am the Golden Witch, Beatrice, and you are? I am also Beatrice. I was born for the purpose of serving Ushiromiya Battler. I am the Golden Witch and the ruler of Rokkenjima's Night. I know of Ushiromiya Battler, but I have trouble imagining why I should have to serve a brat like him. I realized that the thought I'd had a second ago must have been true. Together we really can become the true Beatrice. Though the person in front of me does have the part that makes her a witch, which I lack. She does not possess the mission to live for Ushiromiya Battler's sake. She has what I do not, and I'm sure I have something she does not. We must be two, and yet one single person. I think we're something like twins. No, that is not so. You are my little sister. I have been here since long before you were born. Huh? Is that so? I was born later. So, does that mean the mission to live for Ushiromiya Battler's sake was born later on? However, I don't think my whole existence is something quite as faint and intangible as a mission. I have enough of a personality to think and act as I am doing now, so the witch Beato and I are separate people, with both of us possessing something the other lacks. In that sense, maybe it's fitting for us to call ourselves sisters, as she says. I want to know about you. I also wish to know. I understand that you are also me. Why is it that you speak that way, and why must you serve Battler? Until we grow to understand this, it seems that both of us will remain immature. I want to become a complete Beatrice. Until you were born, I was complete. However, now that you have appeared, I believe that accepting you is my fate. I also wish to know about you. The witch Beato's tone was very slightly arrogant, which fitted her self-proclaimed status as the older sister. However, since we both realized that we were the same person, there was no need for her to be a bully. She probably realized that after meeting me, her current form was no longer her real self. Where are we? Is this the hall of the mansion? Oh. Beato gasped. Her portrait wasn't there. Did that mean that this was at least 2 years in the past? Precisely. This is the hall of the Ushiromiya mansion. The night is my time, and the nighttime mansion is mine as well. That fool Kinzo is still so desperate to catch me or revive me. How truly ironic. Here I am, openly ruling the mansion every night. So, what do you do here? I have lost my body, and due to the effects of that hateful shrine, I have no magical energy. However, my power is reviving bit by bit every day. I can't wait to eventually undergo a spectacular resurrection and have a good laugh at Kinzo. I can't wait to tell him that I've succeeded in escaping from his cage. Simply put, I'm a ghost killing time by wandering about night after night, with nothing to look forward to besides teaching that old man a lesson. May I join you? Of course. After all, you are a part of me. How could the left hand refuse the company of the right? Why should I refuse? I shall be pleased to have you, my little sister, the new Beatrice. Thank you very much, One-sama. A somewhat embarrassing name, but it is not bad. Come, let us go. Let us take a walk through the nighttime mansion. Let me introduce you to my boring everyday life.
Do you want to keep narrating the section, or?
Oh, sure I can. The two Beatrices changed their forms into two gold butterflies, flitting silently into the depths of the shadowy mansion.
Good narration. Huh.
What a chapter.
Yeah. I still think our initial guess that, like, the different Beatrices represent different people who all have the capacity to become Beatrice is probably very close.
Possibly.
But I think we're probably going to see an answer to that very soon.
Yeah, seems like it.
Anyway, let us know what you thought about our what you thought about our theory about the shape of Umineko on the outside. I feel very good about that. I think we finally have enough context to at least see the shape of what it looked like. Some of the individual details might be wrong, but I do feel confident about that. We'll see you on Monday with a new episode.
Hell yeah.
Smash that like, comment and subscribe.